Welcome to the Institute for Strategic Policy Solution on another site. We are in Jacksonville. We are so honored to do a program outside of our bubble in Seminole, Florida, and in Jacksonville with a room full of engaged students ready to learn about new age technology for autonomous vehicles. My name is Kimberly Jackson. I'm the executive director. The Institute, for those of you all who do not know, is a gift from Congressman Bill Young for the benefit of the Florida college system. We do public policy programming to engage community stakeholders surrounding the great 28 Florida colleges to ensure that there's educational knowledge and understanding about the true scope of government and public policy. And that is in all areas, because everything you learn today about vehicles will ultimately end in some policy that will impact all of you all. So it doesn't really matter what the topic is. Congressman Young was right. Understanding how what we do in everyday ways impacts policy is important. I'm with my fabulous team. I'm going to be introducing them shortly, but I want to thank you for your time in advance. If you are interested in what we do, we ask that you go to isps.spcollege.edu and that you learn more about us on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media channel that you like. I also want to take a personal privilege to thank Aaron and our team who came up yesterday to make sure that this would be a smooth transition, and to thank our panel in advance. And with that, I'm going to introduce our statewide coordinator, Aaron Bryce, who will introduce our panel. Thank you for your time, and please don't forget to fill out those questions. I'm sure they'll love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Welcome, everybody. We have a great conversation lined up for you today. An all-star panel as well, who have the distinct privilege of introducing to you all this afternoon. So first up for our moderator, we have Dr. Doug Brower, who's the Dean of Engineering and Industry here at FSCJ. Under his leadership, enrollment grew over 57%, and FSCJ became a national leader in grants for two-year schools. He previously led workforce development and innovation at Richland Community College and helped create the first CCS, carbon capture and storage degree program in the world. He's also joined by Paul Soar, lead professor of automotive technology here at FSCJ with 41 plus years in the auto industry. He develops advanced EV and autonomous vehicle training programs and helped design ASE national certification exams for advanced driver assistance systems. We also have Mark Reed, co-founder and SVP of Public Affairs at Beep, a leader in autonomous mobility solutions. He has decades of experience in telecom, IT, and business development, including founding multiple companies. He also serves on multiple transportation advisory councils advancing AV technology. And finally, we have Dr. Sandy Beaumont, the Senior Manager of Recruitment and Workforce Development at JTA. She has 20 plus years of experience designing leadership development programs, mentoring talent, and aligning workforce initiatives with organizational goals. So please help me welcome our wonderful panel here today. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Brower. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Aaron, and thank you, ISPS, for letting us do this. So we're going to be a very enjoyable time, I think. I'm going to ask some questions of all of you, nothing personal, but about autonomous vehicle technology. And certainly as we get to the end of this, as you come up with questions, we want to ask those to the panelists as well. So don't be shy as we go forward. First question we're going to have out here for all the panelists here. Florida has positioned itself as a leader in autonomous vehicle legislation and testing. How does this statewide regulatory environment, which encourages AV development, influence the strategies of both academic institutions like FSCJ and broader Florida State College system, industry players like BEEP and JTA, and national advocates like ACES Mobility across the state? Paul, let's start with you.
Thank you. I'm gonna mix this up a little bit already. So I know your question is about regulatory environment, but I work for a college, work for FSCJ, so I look at everything from the workforce education side. And one of the things that's going to have to change, and we're going to have to institute, is we're going to have quality education, workforce education in the AV arena. So right now, we have automated vehicles traveling up and down the streets in Florida, and Florida's been great as far as bringing and allowing the testing of AVs in our state. and statewide at that. But what's missing out of that is anybody that can repair them. So, with that said, what I'd like to see as far as the state goes is bringing into the education, workforce education, and some robust training programs that is going to allow us to be able to train a next level technician.
Very good. Mark, let's jump to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So from our perspective, which is the private sector world getting into autonomous vehicle, the policies have been a little behind the technology. So what you find is that, to give you an example, 6 years ago when we started, we used just LiDAR as a technology that was used to drive these vehicles. At the time, it was new to the government, NHTSA, USDOT, FDOT. It was something new to all of us, but at the end of the day, the technology was still ahead. Fast forward 6 years later, in 2025, we're using a composition of LiDAR cameras and radar. So again, the policy was behind 6 years ago. We work with, we have lobbyists, we have lawyers who have been working with the policymakers throughout the state and the U.S. just to ensure that it keeps up to speed with it. But like every other industry, that has been a challenge. Since then, we've worked well with the Florida regulators to ensure that they keep up with everything. So we've had new shows. There's FAV, which has been championed by Senator Brandis, who was seen as one of those who was interested in pushing the policy to get it up to speed with the technology. And, technology evolves every month. Every month there's the latest, greatest coming out. So it's really hard to keep totally up to speed with it. But we try our best to educate. And also, just adding on to what Paul said, it's important to learn about the technology, where it's going. There are new career paths that have been developed out of this technology. And that's something that we're hoping between the colleges and our customers, like a JTA, we all work in sync to ensure that we move the policies as quickly as we can.
Dr. Boma.
Good afternoon, everyone. From the Jacksonville transportation standpoint, when it comes to operating autonomous vehicle in a fixed route state or for public transit or public, it's really important that we have developed a risk-managed runway where Florida or Jacksonville is a blueprint for any autonomous vehicle. So any legislation that is being created or updated will have the blueprint for Jacksonville as the infrastructure to continue. Now, we work with the colleges and our industry, private industry partners who actually help us create micro credentials that will speed the process for those who are interested in working in the AV space. So for those technicians who needs to upskill, then the colleges and the local colleges can assist us in creating short courses that can get you up to speed in a short time.
All right, thank you. So let's focus a little bit more on the college system, and this is going to be for Professor Paul Soar. Paul, beyond FSCJ, how do you see the Florida college system as a collective preparing a diverse workforce for the emerging AV industry across the state? And are there any best practices and collaborative efforts that you can talk to?
Okay, so with the space, the AV space, and like I said before, there really isn't an educational pathway for AVs right now, and we know that AVs are also going to be EVs as well. So you're not going to have a gasoline driving automated vehicle out there. So we know that they're going to be electric vehicles are also going to be automated vehicles. One of the things that we're working at here at FSCJ is to create the next level 2-year degree program in the automated vehicle technician arena. So we've been working on that for a while, and it is finally ready to be presented to the state of Florida, and we hope to have that approved soon. But what that does is that brings once it's approved through the state, it allows other colleges in the state to adopt it as well. So that way, if you're in Miami, well, Miami-Dade State College can adopt the same program, or in Orlando, some of the other colleges, wherever you are in the state, can adopt these same courses in the same program within their department. So when we look at creating the next level technician for this industry, FSCJ is working towards that. And that collaboration of what we've done, we're working with industry partners, is creating this new program. So we didn't create it out of empty space. We created it with working with JTA and BEEP and some others. And we'll create this new program, have it approved through the state. Other colleges can adopt it as well. We will certainly be doing it here at FSCJ, and it will create that new technician. Now, the other thing I could say is that is definitely going to help that we can work with each other and create these new programs. So we can use this to kind of share information that way. And then the other thing is keeping up with industry. So we can't create an AV degree program if it wasn't for the help of BEEP and JTA and all of the hurdles that they've jumped through. And so we use our industry partners. They're the ones that help us design what we've designed.
All right, very good. Yeah, certainly as we have the state framework and the state degree here developed in Florida, that's going to be something that others throughout the country are going to be interested in, I would assume. Question for Mark Reed. BEEP's autonomous shuttles are being deployed in various locations across Florida. What are some of the commonalities and unique challenges you've observed in different Florida communities regarding public adoption, infrastructure readiness, and integrating AVs into their specific transportation ecosystems?
So many challenges, as you can well imagine. One of the main things we have is just people adapting to the technology. So certain areas, certain cities that we go to, based on the demographics of the population. So I can use an example, like we did a demo in the villages where the population is on the older side, more mature side, and they were less appealed to jump on the shuttle and trust the technology. So you have other areas like Miami, people jumped on it immediately. We have areas like Lake Nona, where the average age is 36 years old in the community, and they adapted readily. So it's a matter of just educating the public, sensitizing the community. Each community is different. It depends on the demographics, as I just said. And but you know, at the end of the day, it's about educating the public. The public meaning, before we go into these towns, we work with the first responders. So we train the first responders on how these things operate, how the technology affects, how it drives, how do you stop it? Because if a police pulls over an autonomous vehicle, it's going to be a challenge. They're going to put sirens on, they're going to run behind it, it will not stop. So we have to teach them first and then educate the community as well, because, you know, people will be driving and they see these funny little looking vehicles, these purpose-built vehicles, and at the end of the day, they don't realize that it stops 3 times faster than a human being. So your reaction is 3 times slower. So you're taking pictures behind and it does a hard stop, which the technology detects something and stops. You're going to rear-end it. So it's really about the community. We go in, we do some research on the community, and we start to educate the different areas. We're going to schools as well to try and get kids to understand how the technology works and that they should not jump in front of it to test it. So we've had many challenges overall, but we've overcome them. We have a program now that like a standard program. And again, we worked with JTA. When we're coming into Jacksonville, they helped us with the program. We joined them on some of the visits they had at the different schools and the different communities, talking about the technology, showing the vehicles and the importance of the technology and how it actually operates.
Lots of challenges. And this is a question here for Dr. Sandy Beaumont. The JTA's Ultimate Urban Circulator project, the U2C project, is a significant undertaking. How does JTA's experience in Jacksonville inform or potentially influence other major metropolitan areas in Florida? nationally and globally as they consider integrating autonomous vehicles into their public transportation strategies?
All right, so we all know the buses, right? Most cities have those 40 feet or 35 feet buses. And what we're saying to other transit agency that even though autonomous vehicle is here, it's a way of integrating the autonomous vehicle with your regular 40 feet bus or 35 feet buses, and to show that the original people movers can integrate with autonomous vehicle to give an added layer of choice ridership. You get to choose which vehicle you ride on, right? And we will be that template that other transit agency, whether it's nationally, globally, or locally, can use as a blueprint to integrate autonomous vehicle with your regular public service vehicles.
One add-on to that, what statewide implications does this project have?
It's a lot because all eyes are on Jacksonville right now. So we are definitely in the spotlight. And from a statewide standpoint, it's fixing those policies and procedures that can help us move the project along a little bit quicker and get all our communities engaged in autonomous vehicle.
All right, outstanding here. A question for all of you, and we're going to start down at the end this time with Dr. Beaumont. As the AV, EV, and AI, artificial intelligence industry matures, what are the most critical high-demand technical and non-technical skills that the entire Florida college system should prioritize in curriculum development to ensure a robust statewide and national talent pipeline?
Some of the skills that we really need to focus on when we are considering staffing for the autonomous vehicles are soft skills. While even though we're dealing with people, we're dealing with the public, so anyone that is working in that space needs to know that they have to have some great customer service skills, as well as for technicians, some electrical background where you can fix those electrical components and programming. The autonomous vehicle doesn't move without software knowledge, right, or programming knowledge. You're looking at LiDARs and radars that are operating that are on the vehicles that allows it to move. You need some software background as well. So if we can have a educational or curriculum development where it's a combination of soft skills, electrical, as well as programming language, software programming language, then you have the right people for the job.
All right, let's transition over to Mark, the same question. And I remember, Mark, at the very beginning when we started looking at this, you were looking for potential teammates to fill your workforce that had gaming skills.
Yes, sir. So just to add on to what Dr. Beaumont said, customer service, believe it or not, is very important. So when we started and still now, we do have operators on board who actually ensure that nothing goes wrong. So these people are on board, and it's a matter of welcoming people on board, making them comfortable, talking about the technology, and ensuring that they feel safe, secure while operating on these vehicles. So funny enough, two of the skills we look for quickly is the customer service side and also gaming skills. So in the initial vehicles that we bought, the first generation, they literally use an Xbox controller to operate the vehicle. So my son, who is an Xbox addict, he picked it up within 15 minutes. I don't use Xbox. It took me 2 days to figure out how to operate the vehicle. So it's funny, you know, we used to have this argument 4 a.m. Why don't you go to sleep? You need to have a job, a regular job. Well, guess what? He's one of probably 5 people in the U.S. now who commissions these vehicles that use Xbox. Since then, we've upgraded it to more commercial grade instruments. But at the end of the day, you'd still need those skills. So you need those skills. And the other thing is, again, following up on Dr. Beaumont, is IT background. So right now, we move from LiDAR to camera, LiDAR, radar. So we use light to detect objects, we use radar frequencies, and we use the camera, right? It's a fusion of the system now. So we move from LiDAR to all three. So it's like all three of us here having different skill sets being able to see ahead and simultaneously figuring out who is the person to take the lead while the vehicle is operational. So it's a cross-section of skills. There's no one particular area. We have seen coming out of the autonomous ecosystem that you have 3-4 different career paths being built as a result of this.
So, Professor Paul Soar, I assume that you've got a different perspective on this since you're dealing with a lot of the moving parts within the vehicle.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let me ask this question to the audience: How many in here has actually ridden in an automated vehicle? So, pretty good amount of you. And when you and by the way, I mean just a plug for JTA. If you haven't, then you need to go down here on Bay Street and you need to ride one because they are running these shuttles up and down Bay Street Monday through Friday. So if you haven't ridden one, you need to go take a ride. But with that said, though, when you think about an automated vehicle, you say, well, what kind of skills are you going to need? Well, what is it? And my question originally with this is, well, what is this? Is this an IT or a computer science skill? You know, are we dealing with coding? What is it? Is it an automotive skill? I mean, they all have 4 wheels and brakes and a suspension. They have air conditioning systems on them, so it's kind of like a car. Is it automotive? You know, or is it more mechatronics? Is it more like robotics? Do I need to understand robotics and make this work? And then there's the other disadvantage to anything that's out there on the road communicating. Is there a cybersecurity risk involved in this as well? So you start looking at it and you say, well, who in the world's going to work on these things? Because what is it? I mean, what kind of technician, what kind of skills do you need? Well, it turns out that really it's everything. We need technicians that have some level of IT skills, that have some understanding of robotics, that have automotive skills, that understand all that aspect. You need somebody that understands all of it. Oh, and by the way, and I don't want to forget cybersecurity as well. So when you look at the depth of the skills, this is a never before seen person before. We don't have people with those skills unless you were like 1 in a million maybe. And so that's where when you're looking at the automated vehicle, all of a sudden you're a very special person and you're going to need specialized training as well. And so that's where we're going with our programs, is to include all of those, a little bit of all of that into one program to make you capable of doing that. So yes, you will understand braking systems and suspension systems, but you're also going to have to understand a little bit of IT, and you're going to have to understand radar and LiDAR and how to repair that as well.
So it sounds like you're really talking about an evolution in the whole transportation system, where some jobs may disappear. There's a whole bunch more that are going to appear today, tomorrow, and into the future. So they're very exciting. Let's go to next question here, and this is going to be for Mark Reed and Dr. Beaumont. We'll go with Dr. Beaumont. Ladies first, Mark, if you don't mind. Looking at Florida's unique economic drivers, such as tourism, logistics, and healthcare, how do you anticipate autonomous vehicles will transform these key statewide industries in the coming decades?
I would say it will make them easy to go between campuses, number one, especially when you have hospital facilities or healthcare facilities that are large and they need microtransit to move from one building to the other. That's one. The carrying of different samples to different labs. When JTA was testing with the autonomous vehicle, which is called Navi anyway. So if you go down on Bay Street, you will notice these blue vehicles. It's called Navi. Yes, please make sure you hop on it and take a ride. Now, those vehicles can also carry different samples from one facility to the other. The same thing on any campuses, whether it's a health campus or a college campus. It's those microtransit, smaller vehicles that is able to take you short distances in a quick time frame and make it easier. Less pollution on the road as well when you consider EV, and less individuals who have to walk longer distance between campuses. They can definitely use our autonomous vehicle for shuttling in between campuses as well as sample labs.
And Mark, same question.
Sure. So I'm going to approach it from a slightly different angle, but same principle. People are going to move around differently in the few years to come. The autonomous industry, they don't get distracted, they don't fall asleep, they don't text, they don't get too much alcohol intake. So you'll have a situation where you have an adaptable vehicle, meaning in the daytime it can move tourists around all over, safe in a safe, reliable way. At nighttime they can use it as security cameras because all these vehicles have different components. Most of these autonomous vehicles, and I'm going to speak more specifically to the public passenger side, not the rideshare or the personal vehicle like a Tesla, more the public transit. These vehicles can be multi-purpose. So, for example, we work with a community that they're looking at using the same vehicle, getting level 3 charge, so it takes 20 minutes to get full charge, back up to speed, to actually operate as security at nighttime. So the vehicles don't get tired, they don't get distracted, they don't get sleepy. So it's multi-purpose. So moving people around more efficiently, more effectively. And as the technology becomes even more advanced, you will have more use cases for these vehicles in the tourism area. Student campuses, same thing. At nighttime, there are cameras all over on the campus itself. On these vehicles, there are cameras as well. So if you're a female and you have a concern about safety getting back to your dorm, there's cameras all over, on the street, in the vehicle, outside the vehicle. So it gives you that sense of security that typically you would not have before.
I seem to recall, too, I'm going to take you back to COVID. I don't want to take you back to COVID, but I'm going to take you there, that the shuttles themselves, you had a wonderful partnership with Mayo in moving cultures from where they were acquired to the labs to be analyzed.
So yes, that was an incredible experience for us. We actually got the permit to operate the vehicles without anybody on board. So when COVID came, nobody knew what on earth the effect was, who would get it. Nobody had an idea how it was transmitted or anything. So nobody wanted to be on the vehicle with 50, 60 samples of COVID in a cooler, right? Including myself. So we were on the outside. So we designed a switch, an auto switch that we could use remotely. So we had people like Bill Fraser at the back there, who was part of the team that put together this process. And the process is to ensure that we move the COVID samples from the test tent, which is on the Mayo Clinic campus, to about 3/4 of a mile to the laboratory where they would test it. Huge experience for us. Many lessons learned. We ended up on scooters riding beside it to ensure that it didn't go in the way of ungiven path. So huge experiences, but again, it's used for many different use cases. Security at nighttime, moving samples where people don't want to be in contact with it. So it has really helped. And as technology evolves even more, because it gets more advanced each time, we rely less and less on humans there. However, just to note, with humans coming out of the driver's seat, there are other jobs that are created. Like, for example, somebody has to monitor these things. They don't just go on their own. It's like launching a rocket. Nobody's in the rocket, but you have 10 people managing on the ground, ensuring. So other jobs come out of these different use cases where you have road rangers, you have you typically have to figure out how to fix these ADAS kits. So you have that as well. And you also have the monitoring center, which we call our command center, where it's a whole different skill set that's required to do it. So many different opportunities coming out of the fact that you remove the driver, but he has the opportunity to be retooled, reskilled, retrained, and recertified.
So there's going to be lots of new applications that come out of the evolving AV industry as we go forward. So just so Professor Paul Soar doesn't feel left out here, I'm going to ask him a question. Paul, with the rapid evolution of AV and AI technology and connectivity, how can the Florida college system ensure its automotive and related technology programs remain agile and responsive to industry changes across all regions of the state, not just in specific urban centers?
So it's hard. it's hard to remain agile. Well, it's not hard to remain agile with AVs, I guess, because these things change like constantly. I mean, the technology that we were introduced to back 4 or 5 years ago for AVs is completely different than what the technology is today. And so when we look at trying to prepare education for somebody working on AVs, well, you better remain agile, because if you sit down for more than a couple days, you're gonna lose perspective of how the industry is going. So making sure that you stay plugged into industry and seeing where industry is going is our biggest advantage. And so this is one of the things why we do so much with Beep and with JTA and our new manufacturer that's coming here to town, Holon, where they'll be building these AVs. We keep in touch with them, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that whatever technology is being used currently in the industry is what our students are learning, and that's what they'll be able to work on. So that's my suggestion is always stay close to industry, and industry would always lead us to where we need to go.
And you really have to, because I think that the with artificial intelligence, it's like that's evolving every 2 weeks. So you don't really have time to rest on your laurels with this. You got to stay connected. Let's jump back down to Dr. Beaumont. What role can public mass transit agencies play in driving the widespread adoption of autonomous vehicle technology, ensuring that the benefits of AVs are accessible to all Floridians?
In fixed or in public mass transit, we have to educate our riders about anything that we're doing. Then that includes the autonomous vehicle and how that is operating on the road. Then we have to make fare capping and making fare accessible to everyone. So with doing that, we know we hold public meetings, and we gather the feedback of our customers to see where we need to go in terms of fare capping, as well as in terms of the knowledge about AV or anything mass transit is accurate within the community. So we do have community ambassadors who will go out and talk to customers, knock on doors to see what is their opinion on anything that we're doing. To make it fair across the board, we generally get the customers' feedback, and we really look at fare capping to make sure it's accessible to you, as well as our vehicles are definitely accessible to anyone for the disabled population as well. So it's not just fare capping, it's the design of the vehicle to make sure everyone can actually ride.
Yeah, very good. And adoption is so key, right? If nobody adopts nobody adopts, and then there's no need to have them.
Correct.
So customer feedback is certainly key. Mark Reed, beyond the immediate operational benefits, what long-term societal impacts do you foresee autonomous vehicles having on quality of life, traffic congestion, and environmental sustainability across Florida's diverse communities?
Good question. Again, I'm going to go back to public passenger transit, because that's the area I know best. It will help a lot in the future. It will make people more efficient. You can actually do work while you're being driven from point A to point B. You can go out, you can have drinks, you can enjoy the evening and not worry about getting pulled over, DUIs, things like that. And it just makes life easier when you know you have safe, reliable public transit. So I focus more on the transit on the public side, because I think that's the way to go. It reduces cars, the number of cars on the road. So, I was talking with a developer a few months ago, and he told me it costs about $40,000 per parking spot to build. So when you have these garages, it's $40,000 per parking spot. That's horrendous. So to me, having the public passenger where you have point A to point B, safe, reliable, scheduled network, it's easier to jump on. It costs the community less. It costs you less, because at the end of the day, when you build all this infrastructure, you pay for it. It comes back to you through taxes or something else. So it has been very helpful. We actually create a whole ecosystem at that point. So you have everything being automated. You have everything more efficient. You have apps on your phone, so you know exactly where the vehicles are. So you can spend more time in one spot and plan better to get to the other spot on a more timely basis because of the apps, the technology that comes along with these autonomous transit vehicles.
All right. And we have one last question here, and this is going to be for everybody. So far, you've all passed. This so you know, there's no pressure here. And we'll start out at the end with Dr. Beaumont here and come back in this direction. Given Florida's proactive stance on AVs and the collective efforts of the Florida college system, what is one major statewide policy recommendation or collaborative initiative you believe is crucial for Florida to fully realize the potential of autonomous vehicles?
For Florida to fully realize the potential of autonomous vehicle, I will say a Florida Compact Agreement needs to be instituted or be a part of the policy where all partners who are involved in autonomous vehicle are sharing that information so that others are able to get information on safety methods and regulations, some of the things that we're doing to make sure that we're keeping our customers safe across the board, as well as having our KPIs visible and shared across states or across the nation. And that will give us a bigger blueprint, a bigger footprint, and a quicker way for legislation to be passed because we know we can share that information.
And Mark, same question for you. One statewide policy.
Upgrade education, public awareness. That's very important. We have to get the word out how safe these things are, how reliable, how efficient they are. So we have to develop these programs that would help us to catapult the autonomous industry. We're ahead of Florida says we're ahead of the industry throughout all the states. And I think we are actually, just in terms of all the different deployments and the complexities of the deployments that we've had. But at the end of the day, I think public awareness, just get the word out.
Great. And Professor Soar.
The one policy that needs to be done, and we're working on it, is to institute a degree program for AV education. And I think we're working on it because we're submitting to the state, so it won't be long. But that's the one thing. If I had to say what we need to do, we need to educate technicians.
Okay. I think we've got some questions from the audience here. And let's address these. And you got a whole lot of them here. And I'm going to pass these. I'll direct them if they make sense. Otherwise, I'll just kind of leave them up and somebody jump and grab these. Autonomous flying. Autonomous flying vehicles. How can I guess the first question is, are there going to be autonomous flying vehicles? And the second question is, how can I invest in automated autonomous vehicles? So, Mark, I'm going to throw that to you since you're out there in the industry there.
Okay. So there's so it actually exists. Autonomous flying vehicles is called eVTOL, electric takeoff, vertical takeoff and landing. It's been tested all over the world. I think Europe, the European side of the world, is a little more advanced. They have much more testing going on, but they have less requirements and less regulation. So I think they're ahead of the thing. But at the end of the day, we will have flying cars called eVTOL. And again, it will change the way people operate and the way people move from point A to B. For example, it's vertical takeoff, so you don't need a runway. Helicopters are a lot of noise, wind, distraction. The vertical takeoffs are electric, so there's not much. I mean, you hear the fans running, but not much. You could actually be in a classroom here, and an eVTOL lands on the rooftop of this building, and you'd never know. So it makes it more efficient. You can land anywhere. You can put vertiports on the top of rooftops, just behind a soccer field, football field, just because it's more convenient. So, for example, I live in Orlando. It's much easier for me to come outside, go on top of the building, jump on it, get here, over to FSCJ, because you have lots of space or building space that you can. So it will change the way people actually operate, a little more efficient in my view. As it is now, it's limited. So right now I wouldn't suggest going in one for more than 200 miles. The technology is not there yet. It might run out of charge. You never know. I just like to be on the safe side. So yeah, I think eVTOLs are real. They're here. In terms of investment, it's a huge investment for these things. I mean, if you think about, Holon is bringing a factory here, and I think they're, and don't quote me on this, but I think they're somewhere around 300 million for investment, and that's public passenger. In terms of investing in personal eVTOLs, I wouldn't suggest you do that now because it's constant evolution of the technology and everything else. However, you could invest in companies that have invested millions and probably make a decent return on your investment for that.
And I think that's a company like Holon coming here to build a factory to produce thousands of autonomous vehicles that will be used not only here but shipped back. I think out of Jack's Port back to Europe and around the world. It really illustrates that it's an industry that's not going to go away anytime soon. It's only going to grow. Just a question here. We got a lot of questions here. This is more, boy, they're serious here. This is for Dr. Beaumont. How will customers pay for the shuttle rides?
It's no different from your mass transit, the regular 40, 35 feet buses. It's using our apps. We have one app that you can use to pay for any of our transit, as well as the app has open payment. So it could be Cash App, Apple Pay, cash itself. You can actually pay for your ride that way. And we also have, last month we had a free Navi ride, so you can actually ride our Navi for free to see how it operates, right? But coming October 1, that has shifted. So when it comes to payment, at each bus stop there is a screen that you can tap. You can ask about payment information as well. You can make your payment, as well as you do have our JTA app that you can download for payment for any of our rides.
So a lot of the system that's already present is going to be used for this. And you've got one more question. These are really interesting. These are great questions. What will happen with the elevated platform that the previous shuttle system used? And I think we're talking about the electric trains.
Right, so that is the phase approach for our urban circulator U2C. The actual elevated ride is currently called our Skyway, and based on our projection for the Navi or U2C project, that will be converted into an elevated platform for the Navi. So it will ride above our regular roads so that you have more options.
Okay, so let me ask this, and I think that this is probably going to be for Mark, and then the other half is going to be for Paul. What future manufacturers do you foresee joining Holon and others in coming to Florida or the USA?
So there are a few other autonomous vehicles coming into the U.S. There are two others that I'm aware of. One is called the Mika shuttle. The other one is the Omeo shuttle. One started manufacturing on the West Coast in California, and the other one is in Boca. And they're actually looking at manufacturing in the U.S. because a lot of the programs that fund these autonomous programs require Build America. So 72% of the parts and components and assembly has to be done in America. So everybody is now looking at how do we start building in the U.S. So Florida is very attractive to everybody now because one, Holon kind of set the pace, and two, a lot of the demand for autonomous vehicles are right here. Three, FSCJ has been seen to be the leaders at the forefront of a lot of the programs, the certification programs and the degree program that Paul spoke about earlier. So to me, it's attractive to them because of workforce development or potential for workforce development. And also another area that helped us in this ecosystem is the rocket industry. People are moving here. People are gravitating towards Orlando, Jacksonville, Daytona, Melbourne, because they start to build components for rockets here. So the whole ecosystem is being created and born out of the fact that there are certification programs from FSCJ, which will be widespread, obviously. Once it gets certified here, then you can use it all over. That's where it becomes scalable, because at the end of the day, you don't have somebody from Miami being restricted because they can't afford to come here to spend months to learn and get certified. It will now become online. It will become something that can be scalable throughout the state of Florida.
All right, here's the second question here. This is another very, very good question. All of you have advanced degrees. What do you see as the future educational opportunities outside of AV technicians? And we've talked about the AV technician a little bit. What do you see being added to this industry in terms of, or needed in terms of educational background?
Well, so is the question about particularly about AVs and the expansion of AVs?
I think we're talking about the AV industry.
Okay. So, obviously, I look at the technical side of things, but it's not just the technical side. It's like the areas of what BEEP is currently doing now, where they have a control center, and so somebody has to sit in this control center. The EV side of things, I didn't talk a whole lot about that, but with the and I know it's slowed down now, the EV industry. But as time goes on, as that EV industry builds, EV technicians are necessary as well. An AV technician will have to be an EV technician. But even if you're not working in the AV arena, as long as you have those EV skills, you can work still in other areas, other industries, maybe just the automotive industry. So there's a lot of different things. Now, when you look at manufacturer like Holon coming to town, and they will be building assembling these vehicles here. It's a great thing for the city of Jacksonville. But along with that comes all of their vendor support. They don't just build everything in that one facility. Things are being made by other people. So that whole vendor support, there's the pieces parts that are going to add to it as well. A machinist, all kinds of things that go along with this stuff. So it is really kind of a giant infrastructure that is about to develop our area, to expand what we currently do here. So I don't know. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
And I will say that people are not going away, so you will need someone in HR anyway to help us navigate the waters and to make sure policies and procedures are enforced. So while we have the technical skill, you still have those other technical degree areas that will be instrumental in executing the ecosystem. So we're still here, people.
Yeah.
And also the non-technical jobs as well. So, you have road rangers. Somebody has to manage, maintain these things, clean them, fix them. We have 2-3 different buckets that we look at in terms of just the AV shuttle itself. There's the battery side of it. The battery is a high voltage battery. Whole different ball game from a 12-volt battery that you guys are accustomed to. It's software managed. It has different cells. It's a whole different skill set from what Paul talked about on the electric motor side. And then the third bucket is the autonomous kit side. So it all depends on where your interest is or where you think you want to go further with your new career.
And of course, with any new company that comes to town, you've got all the accountants and everybody else, the management, etc. So you're talking about a whole platform of new roles that are going to appear along with it. Some of them very traditional, some of them will be very, very new and different, and with some very exotic job titles, as we were talking about earlier this week. Let's go on and do a couple more of these, because I know we're going to run out of time. These guys will start throwing something at me from ISPS. But great topics. There's a question here that's asking about on-the-job training, job shadowing opportunities that would be involved with this technology and other technology.
I would say from today JTA has job shadowing, right? We have internship program, we have on-the-job training. That's just built in our regular DNA. Now, as we delve a little bit deeper into AV, it will still be the same. Working alongside FSCJ and BEEP, our collaboration will create those functions where you can have job shadowing, where you can get on-the-job training, the upskilling if you're already employed with a company. There's that upskilling opportunity as well if you want to transfer into the AV space.
And add that, I'd just add a little to that. At the end of the day, we have apprentices, we have people who trial and error, we break stuff and we fix it because there's nobody who has done it before, right? So there's a lot of first time that we have been doing. So we have to have people shadowing and taking notes and lessons learned so that we don't break another one because these components are $15,000 to $25,000 per component. So we do have the same program, similar type programs, and it is necessary because there's no expert in this field. The field is a new field, but it's creating an ecosystem that will help everybody. So you'll have all these different career paths that you can choose from. Coming out of it, there's a smart city program, which I think there's a smart city degree now, where the smart city connects with the vehicles connect with the streetlights connect with the VPN network. So everything starts to connect all in one, which creates new jobs everywhere.
Okay. Here's another good question, and I think we'll do a couple more here. As we explore the future of AV and EV vehicles, the question here is, what are your plans for looking at sustainability of these? For example, with the responsible cycling, recycling of batteries and other technologies involved with this. And I know this is a little bit of probably industry, but also, Paul, I know you've got some work that's being done in our batteries.
So, I mean, I'll go first. The one of the things with electric vehicles is that you talk to people and you say, why don't you drive them? Well, usually they'll say, well, I don't, it doesn't go far enough. I can't get enough range out of it. Or the other thing we always hear is that, hey, I don't want to have to spend $20,000 to replace this battery. And that's not always the case. Not every electric vehicle battery is going to cost $20,000. There are some out there, but that's what scares people away from electric vehicle stuff. And so the other thing is this, it's like, what's in that battery? You got these heavy metals. If you're throwing these batteries away, then that doesn't sound very sustainable, doesn't sound healthy for our environment at all. But the answer we think we have, and I'm gonna point out Professor Robert Weschler over here, who has done a fantastic job helping us create a new program in the ability to take an EV battery out and determine dead cells and then replace those cells, put it back together, balance it, and put it back in the vehicle. To me, that's the sustainability part of at least that aspect of things. So the idea is not that we just remove things and throw it away so that somebody else has to deal with all of the mess, but let's try our best to figure out how to rebuild things and put it back in service, and that would be sustainability, in my mind.
And that's another ripe area for new businesses to develop and come around that. And I think that there are several that have looked at that we're aware of have migrated down towards the Jacksonville area. So, again, new jobs that are being created. Let's do one more question. This is very timely. We'll make this the last one. This is a question about vehicle safety. How are we going to ensure the safety of the passengers in the vehicle? And the second part of this question, which I kind of like, and I think, Mark, you'll be able to speak to this, is if there's an incident on the shuttle, someone panics because of technology, whatever it may be, or gets sick, whatever, what are the procedures in place to deal with something like that?
So in terms of the safety, statistics show that autonomous vehicles are safer just by the data that's out there. A lot of it is the fact that, again, there's no distraction. So I think the statistics is like 94% of, and don't quote me, I'm just pulling numbers here, 94% of accidents are caused by human error. These computers they have redundancy in them. So even if one breaks, the other one comes into play. With the system we have here, it's very safe. It has 3 different sets of eyes. It has redundancy in the servers, the software. Everything has a redundant mode to it. And then you have the LiDAR, radar, and camera that act almost as redundancy to the other. So overall, the vehicle is safe. We've operated for 6 years. We've bumped many palm trees, many curbs, but it's training the human beings that bump it. We've never actually had a computer go bad and hit into anything, knock on wood. So at the end of the day, it is safe overall. In terms of the inside now, how a passenger feels safe. So right now we have an operator on board. As of next year, we will not have an operator on board. So Beep created its own, we developed our own software. And that software really, some of it manages the vehicle itself, the fleet, and the rest of it manages in the absence of somebody on board who can help you. We have cameras inside with the technology that detects. So talk about using AI type technology. Now the technology that we have detects like facial mood. So if you're scared, if you're sick, it actually detects and sends a signal to the command center. So this is advanced technology. We haven't rolled it out yet. However, it's on its way. Within the next 2-3 years, we'll have everything fully automated. So it detects all these different things. If I'm sitting beside Dr. Bowman and she's feeling uncomfortable, it will trigger a warning in the command center. And then we have 2-way audio. So the person sitting in the command center will speak to me and say, move over, big guy, invading her space. So there's a lot of technology that we're going to use to keep it even safer. If there's public disturbance on the shuttle itself, again, there's an alert. If you talk too loud, if your pitch changes, the software detects all this, sends a signal to the command center. And as we talked earlier, we always have training for the first responders. So police know how to stop the vehicle, how to enter the vehicle once it stops, where the emergency switches, where the cutoff switches, things like that. So they will take it over from there because you really can't rely on anybody who is not trained to deal with any public nuisance. So software-driven technology is what we use now and what we will develop. And as the technology becomes even more advanced, we'll have more software that will help us to eliminate all these different issues that a bus driver would normally have. So if somebody's feeling sick, he looks around, he radios in and says, hey, we have a passenger on board that's sick. The technology detects all that now and alerts the command center, who will in then return alert the emergency services.
I was glad that you mentioned the command center. Very sophisticated, and everything is being watched. And again, the backbone of all the programming. Another bunch of careers there. Being a worker in the command center is another field of workforce. And one of our students at FSCJ, the Automotive Technology Program, is actually working in the command center. So you don't necessarily have to be on the floor working on the vehicle, but there's lots of other opportunities that are there. Dr. Sandy Beaumont, Mark Reed, Professor Paul Soar, thank you so much for joining us and answering all the questions, and we'll turn it over to Sam Jenkins.
Thank you again to all you, the panelists, the moderator, all you for coming out today. We really enjoyed the program. Great time, great discussion. Facilities, food, thank you as well. Security. We have a couple programs coming up. If you guys are interested, these are all hybrid too. So we're streaming it today. All of our programs are hybrid, so we can watch around the Florida college system and around the state. We also have a documentary on Congressman Bill Young, the visionary behind the Institute. It weaves our history and his history together. And then our programs you can find on our website, isps.spcollege.edu. We have a 3D program in Tarpon Springs, Florida. We have a cool space bus coming out. We have a grand debate with 7 Florida colleges. The winner gets $1,200 for that. Students are debating the First Amendment. I'll close on food. There's free food outside. We got tables to continue discussion. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. We appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.